my first beat till I was 20. So I think I was uploading every other day, or maybe I was going like 3 or 4 times a week before I made that $180 sale. I'm going to upload for a year and see what happens. And so it wasn't like, oh, this just happened and I was halfway in, halfway out.
BeatStars, the foundation, the precedence. We flying flags in every city, global residence. And we killing off the masters. Ghetto slave driving bastards. We making hits faster than you could think. We're on the brink of revolution. All my indie music makers, here's your restitution. We got the game in a chokehold. Not paying the creators is a no-no. I got the smoke road for all the fam bam.
What's going on? Welcome to the Pay the Creators podcast. My name is Abe Batchon, and today I got a special guest, one of the top dogs in the beat selling game, someone that's just been absolutely crushing it, selling beats and samples and all kind of stuff online, but has also made his mark making music with some amazing artists that you guys know. People like Russ, like Rick Ross, Joyner Lucas, Lil Bow Wow. And this guy's got over 112,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's got a massive fan base. He's been disrupting his world with how he makes his music. Give it up to my guy, Dilly Got It Bumpin'. What's up, man? Thank you for coming, man.
Thanks for having me on. I'm
Appreciate
excited.
you.
Can't wait to talk about this stuff.
You dragged me right out the hospital, man. I came out the hospital to come see you, man. And I'm so happy they let me out. They were trying to hold me in, but I'm
That's
out.
amazing.
They let me out. I'm here to see you. I'm so happy that you came out to Austin to come hang out with us, and we get to hear your story, dude. You're an unconventional one, man. Tell us a little bit about you, man. Where you from? Give us a little background on yourself.
Yeah, so I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado. I've been making beats for about 7 years now. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a business through BeatStars and on my own. And I mean, yeah, those are like the big points. And then what else you want to know?
I always got to kind of start with, kind of like an icebreaker question, right? Mm-hmm. What was your welcome to the industry moment? Not just industry,
yeah.
Online, just the commercialization of music moment. When, what moment was your welcome moment that you just kind of hit you in the face? You're like, oh God.
So I think the first moment that I realized all of this was a possibility, that someone could do this for a living. And I only kind of realized it at the time, is I just posted a beat to YouTube, and I want to say this was in 2015 or 2016, and it got maybe a couple thousand views. No, it only got a couple hundred views and maybe 800 or something the first night. And I checked the next morning, and I had emails from people wanting to purchase the beat.
That was the first beat?
That was the first beat. I wish there was a better story, because I feel like that's might be discouraging to people, but not the first beat that I ever made.
Right.
But one of the first beats that I posted to YouTube, and people messaged me the next day. I think that a guy offered me, he's like, hey, I want to buy the rights. I was like, okay, cool, $50. Here's my PayPal. And I didn't even know that any of that existed. I was just like, oh, that's cool that I can get a little bit of money. And so that was the first time that I saw that it could be monetized. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, it wasn't I wasn't in the industry, but it was that was a big moment. And then I would say, I think the next thing would, the next time.
It could be bad too. What was that moment where you had a humbling realization about your work or your talent or whatever it is,
Yeah, I definitely had quite a bit of those and continue to have those. Yeah. But I guess the next thing would be when I knew that I could do it for a living, I think was October 2019. So that was 4 years later, or November 2019. And I made a sale for $180 while I was having dinner with my family. We were all on vacation, and they took me to Mexico, and I was having dinner with my family, and I got the sales notification. I was I was just sitting here, and I made $180. And that, at the time, my expenses were so low that I was okay, this is really, really possible. Mm. And so that was one of those moments. And then the next moment is whenever I covered my living expenses. And then the next moment was when I started to actually get ahead a little bit. But all that kind of stuff is, yeah.
So many producers unfortunately never get, that opportunity to feel, just even that one point of success where you said someone had purchased a beat for $180, out of nowhere. Oh God, I made a sale. This thing is real, right? You felt it, you experienced it. What would you, explain a little bit about that moment and, kind of expand on it, because that could psychologically take you to a whole different place now in terms of like your ambitions and where you want to, kind of like where you want to see your career and your goals, because all it takes is just one indicator, just one person to believe in your work, right?
Yeah.
And what did that sale do for you?
Yeah, so it did exactly that. And so I also want to clarify that on the way to that was not like, oh, I just posted a few beats here and there. Like I was like on it, like on the fence about whether or not this was even possible, like as a career. Like, should I invest this much time into this? Because like, especially where I come from, it's a bit unreasonable, like to other people, that would be like the career choice. Especially I didn't grow up like doing music or anything like that. Like I didn't make my first beat till I was 20. So at that moment, that was after a month of me taking it very serious. Like I would watch all his videos, consistency. And like, I don't even want to say that because like everyone says that, And so at that point, I think I was uploading every other day, or maybe I was going like 3 or 4 times a week before I made that $180 sale. So,
right.
For a month and a half. So there was about 20 to 30 uploads.
A lot of empty days happened first.
Exactly.
Right.
And so it wasn't like, oh, this just happened and I was halfway in, halfway out. That's what happened when I 100% committed. And like, I was like, I'm going to upload for a year and see what happens. Like, I'm going to upload for like as long as I need. And just like, if it doesn't work, then I wasted this time and it's okay. I was already fully committed. So I was just going to do it, And so once that sale happened, it was just like, I think I was uploading like 3 times a week. It's like, okay, now that was an instant switch, like 7 days a week. Like I now upload every single day, because if I could make $180 and like one day uploading 3 times a week, well, then maybe I can make $360 if I upload twice as much and the quality stays the same, because that's important too. Like I can't throw out trash and double that and like lower the quality, but if the quality stays the same and like I just like put my foot on the gas, then it'll just double. And so, and then you can do that. And then it starts to compound and you start to build a catalog. And so, yeah, that just like, it's like, okay, cool, I can do this. Like I'm not that far away from covering my living expenses because they were so ridiculously low at the time. And so that's just what it did, is it's just like, okay, cool, this can happen. It's like, I didn't look back.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
So 20 years old, when you first get into, making music, making beats, but you had a whole kind of like prior life to that in a sense, coming from Fort Collins. Share a little bit about your background, man. Like before you got into the music stuff, like what were you doing before that? What were you doing before that?
Yeah. So before that, before music, like music kind of replaced basketball for me, because basketball was like my 100% like obsession. Like all my focus goes to that. And that was probably from like freshman year of high school to like a year or 2 out of high school. Like, and I played basketball through high school, and then I got a scholarship and I was playing at a junior college. And then that's actually where I learned to make beats, is through that. So, but yeah, before I was just played basketball, hung out with my friends.
What position do you play?
I was in high school, I was like a point guard, shooting guard, but definitely like a 3-point specialist, because I wasn't terribly athletic. And then eventually I actually got more athletic, and then when I got to college, like I'm 6'2", but I was actually one of the smallest guys on the court. And so like I had no chance like going anywhere near the paint. So I just had to be a 3-point specialist.
Yeah. When did you get introduced to ball?
It was big in my town growing up. Like everyone would go to the high school basketball games, and like that was like the coolest thing when I was like in elementary school. And so from there I was like, yeah, that's what I want to spend all my time trying to get good at.
Yeah, man, I played ball too, and my kids play AAU, and it's intense. And there's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of attention to a lot of detail. And you're kind of like, basketball is such an elegant game of art, because there's so many moving pieces that have to really, really work together in order to get a goal accomplished. Do you feel like, and I don't know if you're doing a lot of collaboration today, but do you feel like some of that being, from the sports world and how strategic, the sports world is, and in terms of like, trying to break through, what would you take from your experiences playing ball that you took into your everyday kind of like music business now, your music world, your music making? Are you collaborating a lot now?
I collaborate some. I collaborate more than I used to. I was very, so I feel like two different questions there. I'll take the first one of like what I take from basketball into music. I think like the focus and like the realization that nobody, I mean, at the end of the day, it really is all about your performance. So, I mean, like you gotta hit your shots in basketball. You gotta put out good beats. And so it's like
a lot of pressure.
100%. And then also like, I don't know, you just have to go hard to stand out. Like you have to be willing to commit more than your average person. You have to be, I mean, it depends on what level you want to succeed at. If you want to succeed at the highest level, you just have to commit more than anyone else. And you're going to have to put yourself to the test. You're going to like, I think that's like one thing about both of them is that you can't really hide. Like when you put on that court, like your skill set's there and like everyone sees and everyone knows. And that's the same thing when you're uploading to YouTube and you put your stuff out, like it's just right there. Like you can't hide your skill set. You can't pretend like you're something, like you can't pretend that you're something that you're not. And so it's all, like, and you just want to constantly improve. You want to like it. I think that's maybe something I learned is like the repetition, and that you just want to continue to put yourself out there, see what level you're at, assess what you did wrong, assess why you're not where you want to be yet, and just stay at it every single day. And that would be the same thing I tried to apply to basketball. But I feel like as I got older, I got a better mindset that allowed me to do that more. So I've been able to be more effective at the beats than I was at basketball.
So do you feel that anybody with determination, hard work, patience, and a long-term strategy can learn how to make beats, put out like excellent production, like commercially viable production? You think anyone could do that? Or do you feel like there's always been a music part to your DNA that maybe you uncovered later on?
I don't think that I have a music part to my DNA at all. I think that anyone's willing to commit with an open mind and the right mindset can become professionally good at it. Like anyone. Like if you're capable to open up the software and try to make a beat, then if you commit with like an open mind and you're like obsessed with learning and improving and putting yourself to the test and finding out if your ideas are actually good or not, and being willing to like take that feedback and take it in a productive way where you move forward, anyone can get professionally good. I think the variable, it varies when you get to a higher level of like, okay, are you going to be number one in the world, or are you going to be like 15 best in the world? And then, so that varies of like maybe a little bit of natural gift, I feel like. But that's just not a big deal. I feel like anyone can do, I don't know, anyone who's willing to commit. I feel like people that are like, they've been thinking about it a lot, but maybe they're not putting in 8 hours every single day, 365 days in a row, like, and like minimum 8 hours, like undistracted, focused 8 hours, not like half on YouTube, half like, unless you're learning about beats, but not like, I really think anyone can be professionally good. Like the platforms there, like there's no excuse. The internet exists. Like,
it's interesting. It's interesting. And exciting, actually. And exciting. Because that opens up the door for anyone that's interested in a technical field like this. You know what I mean? You know, when people are always saying that, always fall back on a technical skill. Always fall back on a technical skill because you don't know, you know, sometimes that other crazy dream that you had, basketball, whatever it is, may not pan out. And you know, having a technical skill, whatever the type of field or industry that you have, you know, I think it's important for sustainability. You know, I think we have to have things to fall back on. You know, mastering software, like not talking about like mastering in the engineering sense, like mastering software, mastering all the functionalities, bending how these tools work from a technical perspective. Like that takes a technical mind in a sense too. You know, you can't sometimes just jump into a DAW and say, okay, I'm going to start making beats. There's a learning curve, right? There's a learning curve with everything, whether it's, you know, you're learning After Effects, or you're learning, Photoshop, whatever it is, any type of like digital technical skill. Did you already kind of have a technical background before you jumped on and learned how to make beats? Were you already kind of had a technical understanding of computers, software?
Yeah. So that's something that I definitely had an advantage coming into the beat selling game and just beat game in general, is that I was super interested, especially like growing up. In school and stuff, I was never terribly interested in school. I just did the bare minimum to not get in trouble by my parents. And then like after that, but the one thing that I cared about in school, like that I actually enjoyed going to class, was any computer science class. So that was actually pretty exciting for me. I mean, that might be kind of nerdy, but I did love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I still do. And so initially I thought, from playing basketball, it's like, okay, cool. I want to start my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to work for myself. Like that was number one goal, is like not have a job. And I was like, okay, well, what's the best way to do this? It's probably through computer programming, is what I thought initially. And because, I mean, it's like a low capital, like all intellectual property business. It's like your skill set will, however good you are, is how much, like there's no barriers. The internet's free to everyone. And so, so I was super into that kind of stuff. And so that did help me when I opened up the software. I probably learned quicker than most people, but that's just because I've unintentionally put in like time and effort throughout the years, because that's something I enjoyed. So I don't even know if that was like back to a natural skill, like it's just a natural interest that I pursued. Right. And so like I had those skills the day I opened up GarageBand for the first time.
Right.
And so I already had those skills, and that definitely helped. And I'm not going to lie, it definitely helped because I was pretty good at getting any plugin I wanted for free. So in the beginning, which I'm all paid for now, like they're all legal, no more crack software for me. But getting into the game, while it was a hobby, it allowed me to get any VST that I wanted. And so that definitely helped in the early days, when like you can see if you watch one of my videos that when I make $80 that first month, I also have every single plugin you could ever imagine. And so that helped. That was definitely an advantage. So I think
you're in computer programming. You were writing software.
Yep.
Right. What type of software were you writing? Were you focused on front end, back end, architecture? What were you working on?
So I was writing in Java, was the language, and I was doing back end, but also front end. I tried to make like some website. It didn't work at all, but I didn't have the skills yet. I was like, my ambition was ahead of my skills. Yeah. And so I was trying to make some website where like it was easier to get answers for your homework and stuff like that. So that was the idea. And then I ended up just bringing that idea to job interviews. And so then I got a job programming back end, and I did like, it was like for a cubicle installation company is like the client that I had. And so like it was a scheduler app for them. And so that's what I was doing at the time. But
interesting.
Yeah, it's making.
Would you ever go back to that?
Oh, no. Like work? Definitely not. No.
Yeah, I mean, software is liberating too, man. It can open up so many worlds. All that stuff is all part of the STEM family. That's why I always believe like music production should be like, the government should be assisting music production in the same way they support other STEM, skills. You know what I mean? Because I think it's all related. It's all technical, and it's all self-sustainable. And it's like you said, how you could take it out how far you want to put, put the time in to learn.
And music is programmed now, like 80%.
Music is software. When you want to break down music into its like basic form, it's ones and zeros. It's software. It's code. It's code. It's all digital, right? It has all digital identities. So it's, and then with artificial intelligence now emerging with music, and so much technology now that's allowing people to like make music easier, because people are building like code around music. They're building code around music in terms of like, artificial intelligence samples that are created.
That'll be interesting.
There's all kind of stuff now. So it's it's scary, and it's
I think we'll find out if the AI has like soul or not. I think that's the big test.
Right.
Is like,
because you said that if you worked hard enough, right? If you worked hard enough without a music DNA in you, if you worked hard enough, technically you would actually be good. So in that sense, the computer can work hard enough and recreate everything that's being done. So it's all
24 hours a
possible.
day.
It's all possible. You know, we're keeping an eye on it for sure. I mean, I'm always anti-replacing human beings from doing something that we need from a service perspective. You know, I don't like it. It bothers me. You know, it bothers me because there's, even though, yeah, sure, artificial intelligence can possibly recreate music, but you know, there's probably some original signatures in your music that is, you know, really an identity to you that I don't think can ever be replaced. You know, let's get to the music. Let's get to the music.
Yeah.
Fuck the AI. But, you know, your music, man, like I've been a fan of yours ever since you jumped on. And I told you, I've been a fan of yours ever since you jumped on. And I would brag about you to the team, and I'd brag about you to, so many producers. I'm like, dude, if you want to set a standard for a mix sonically, just also relevancy and type of music, where we are today, kind of like capturing today's sound, this moment in music, this year, these last couple of years, you know, you really have done a great job at doing that, man. And it's important to be flexible. It's important to be agile in terms of like your products and how it keeps evolving. Like your music is always evolving, but I think at the core of it, the foundation of it, you were always set to sonically please people, regardless of the genre, regardless of the type beat, right? It was always, you put on a Dilly Got It bumping beat and you're like, oh, this is like massaging my ears. You know, your mixes are amazing. Your mixes are amazing. Your presentation of your product has always been amazing. And you've done it in such a quick amount of time, you know, such a quick amount of time. And really without a lot of spend on marketing and advertising, right? You're just getting into that now. We were talking about that, but we can get into that more. But this has really been organic, man. This has really been like support. This is like millions of people listening to your music all over the world and putting their money, you know, to support you in terms of like, yo, I choose this guy out of the millions of creators in the world. Like I choose this guy and I choose his music. And how does that feel, man? How does that feel these last 4 years?
I mean, that's incredible. I honestly I'm so focused on the next thing that I don't spend much time thinking about it like that. So that was actually really cool to hear. I appreciate all that.
Because I'm a fan. I'm an artist too, right? So I'm always listening to producers' music. And you know how to layer these sounds in ways where it's like nothing's really annoying. Nothing's really like popping out and bothering me from a songwriter perspective. You know what I mean? And it's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come here. And I think I've always told you, like, your mixes really turn me on, man. but in terms of like artistry, you know, in terms of like sparking some new ideas, some new stories, some new words to spill. And I'm sure it's doing that for so many artists all around the world. Like you're doing that for me, and you're doing that for other artists. Where would you categorize yourself right now musically? Like what's your identity? Where do you
I guess I want to comment on that real quick. Is that's amazing to hear, because I know the only people that matter listening to my music are artists that want to rap on it. And so like I'm always like in my head, I'm like, is this rappable? Like, is this a rappable beat? Like, is there anything that gets in the way of that? And so it's like a fine balance between like dumbing it down too much where it's uninteresting. And then there's a point where it's got like the soul and the emotion, but it's like a blank canvas, like an empty canvas where someone can tell their story. And it like maybe like kickstarts, like it's like the background of the story and like gives that feeling. And then like you can tell whatever story you want on it. So that's really cool to hear, is because I'm always trying to do that. I'm always trying to make it like super rappable. Like, there's
so many producers that make that mistake. So many great, amazing producers that will just like not think about me, the consumer, will not think about us, like the artist, right? Will not think about us and what our experience is on the other side of the internet, right? Like our experience when we're listening to it. You guys are not flies on the wall of these artists, and when they're in their rooms or in the studio, when they're listening to music, when they're writing to it. So you don't know what makes them go to the next track, what makes them click off, right? And a lot of it has to do with sometimes the basicness. Sometimes there's so much beauty and simplicity, man. Like you know, too many sounds will just kind of make things very loud, very noisy, and very.
I also think that's
very disruptive. We all have ADD now, right? We all
Yeah.
have ADD as a society. We're on our phones 24/7. Like if there's like one little thing that's disinteresting in a piece of content, we're on to the next one. It doesn't fit my story. It doesn't. So, you go ahead.
Oh, I also feel
Yeah,
that
yeah.
on the producer side, and like it might take a minute to accept, and I've had to accept this within myself, is that it's honestly selfish and egotistical to have the craziest solo because you want to be like, look how great I am. Like, look how good I am. And it's like, okay, but who does that help? Like, it's like performance versus like, this is something I've like learned lately with like doing my videos and stuff like that. It's like, is it like performance or does it add to the story? Does it like, does it add to the end product versus for what the consumer is going to listen to and like consume? And so like, if you go on those like crazy like piano solo midway through the verse, like you're just like look how great I am, but you're like not helping someone. You're not helping someone write a better song because of that.
sure.
It just like so
You're not doing your job. You're not doing your
Exactly.
job. You're not. The presentation is wrong. You know, like I love how you talked about. Like you're making music for other people. You're not making it for yourself.
yeah,
You know,
I can't listen to my stuff
yeah.
a million times. Like
You got to move on. A lot of people, a lot of producers and artists, they become consumed with their music and they obsessive and they just listen to their song a million times and they accomplish that one thing. I think as an entrepreneur, I'm glad that you said that. I don't listen to my stuff. That whatever you do, you might listen to it a little bit, but you're on to the next stuff. Like
Yeah.
you moved on. That thing has its life and it's going to create life for other people. And now I have to create another thing that creates life. What keeps you challenging you to come every day? Like you said, 7 days a week, man. That's crazy. Yeah. So 7 days a week, what keeps you challenged to make the next beat? And then talk a little bit like how do you keep yourself challenged?
I mean, I just want to impact people more. I honestly, to be 100% real, I do love seeing the stats go up. Like, so because what that represents is that you did a better job of impacting people. They shared it. They listened to it more. They engaged with it more because it did more for them. So I do love seeing those stats go up. And so that's important. And pushing myself musically, being able to like finding that balance of like, what's a new technique or sound that I can develop that is going to even inspire someone even more. And so how do I just continue to push that? Like, how do I almost like, how do I push my sound to the next level? Like, and constantly doing that. How do I like make the textures in the beat more like authentic and just trying to level up in every single way that I can figure out to level up. And that's what pushes me. Cause like music is so like, it's simple, but at the same time you can go as deep as you want to go. And so just learning what more I can do, like find new ways to inspire people. That's what pushes me.
To get to that point where you can have creativity on demand, that takes years, right? I believe, or maybe not, but
Maybe good creativity on demand, but you can.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Where it's like creativity on demand that's actually like commercially viable every single time. That's tough to do, right? Would you say every track right now you're making is impactful monetarily for you? Like every track,
monetarily?
yeah, like every track you put out makes money.
Yeah, I would say like in 2020, 2021, I mean, $800 to $1,000 roughly every single track, like
On
minimum.
average, yeah.
Maybe there'd be like a one.
So you don't throw nothing away.
I mean, ideas never make there's ideas that never get finished because they don't deserve to get finished because they weren't good enough.
Why?
They didn't have that feeling. They didn't they're kind of dull. They're kind of forced. It wasn't authentic. It didn't speak to people. So it didn't speak to me. It was it was like when I was working
Okay.
in order to put together a 3-minute song to get it to my YouTube channel. It wasn't like, this is going to inspire someone. It's like, okay, I'm just forcing it right now. Let me try a different idea and just go through a bunch of different ideas. I cycle through so many ideas. I won't hesitate to cut one.
Cool.
And just to move on to the next one because I want it to be more impactful.
Got it. But to get to that point of on-demand creativity, you got to kind of reconstruct a little bit music in a sense, right? When you're first making music, when you're first coming out and you're first kind of learning the craft, you have to figure out ways to understand why popular music was impactful or certain genres were impactful.
Yeah.
What were some steps that you took before you can create your own? What did you do? What are the steps you took to kind of break down and to kind of understand the DNA of what makes, you know, popular music great? Like, did you do anything before you started creating or while you were creating?
I was going to say,
While
I think it's important to do that while you're creating, because then like you have the opportunity to put that stuff to the test the next day. And if you're on that schedule, then like every single day, that repetition, in 2 years, you're completely different. So, so what I would do is I would recommend that anyone who's interested in selling beats and doing this like on a commercial level, selling, commercially viable beats, like, you should go to the BeatStars top charts. You need to know what to study. Like, you don't just study any random beat. You study the successful ones. And so go to the top charts on BeatStars and download 10 of them and find out, do your best to research how those came together. Put them in Ableton, FL, Logic, whatever you use, and break them down, figure out if there's a common theme as far as chord progression. Because sometimes certain artists use the same chord progression over and over again. And then, so like you'll discover those patterns if you're doing it like every single day, breaking down a new song every single day. So like maybe make a beat every single day and break down a popular successful track every single day. And you're gonna learn so much, and you're gonna see all these patterns. You're gonna see what tempos are working. You're gonna see all that kind of stuff. Like what sound selection people are using. Like, okay, everyone's using the Spins 808 right now or something.
Right.
And you're gonna see that pattern come over and over again. And you're like, okay, well, there's a reason why that's working. Like, and so
with every business, you got to do research, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Everything you create, everything you start, you have to research.
Yeah, and as you research all those, it's like some people might be concerned that they're like biting or just like ripping off people's sounds. You're not like making the knockoff version of that.
You're understanding the process.
Yes. Yeah, you're bringing it down to like the core principles, and then you can piece it together in any way you want.
Yeah.
And then
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I've been screaming and yelling that for years.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I've been telling producers, go and recreate hit songs. Get as close as you can as possible. Then take some vocals from some hit songs and add some new production once you get comfortable. Add some new production. Add some remix, basically, in a sense. Then remove that vocal, and you got an amazing instrumental ready for sale, right? Like
that would totally work.
And I think if producers kind of, you know, were diligent in doing that, just muscle memory.
Also, that would leave space for the artist if you are working around an acapella.
Exactly.
Then it's like, okay, you're not going to overdo. You're not gonna hit your saxophone solo midway.
Do you ever do that? You ever grab some vocals in somewhere before, like sometimes while you're creating beat, just to throw some vocals on there to see?
Yeah, I used to do that all the time.
Really?
Like I used to have a J. Cole Lights Please acapella.
Right.
And I
would
would
always just pop that in.
Yeah, I would throw it on. It was like 85 BPM, which I worked in a lot, and it was a key that I worked in a lot. So I just always throw it in to see if it sounded cool or not. And that would help me like leave space for an artist, not overdo it.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Those are hacks no one really talks about.
Yeah.
You know?
And like the reason you're doing that is because there's an artist on the other end of the computer that it's not like
you're accountable to them.
Yes, 100%.
You're accountable to them. That's
Exactly.
dope. I love it. I love it, man. But okay, you didn't come from no musical family. You didn't play any instruments. You figured out a way, because some people, to me personally, you ask me, you play an instrument? I'll tell you, you do play an instrument.
I would say now.
No, you do. You do. I'll tell you why, right? I think people think that these like physical instruments, right? These like tools, these, these acoustic tools are, the only things that we can define as instruments. I think the computer is an instrument. The software that you're using is an instrument, to be able to play inside of software. You're playing instruments. Actually, you're playing more instruments than the person that can play just one guitar, right? You're playing. You could play everything in there. You can mess around with all kind of sounds, right?
Yeah, I feel like
manipulate.
I program the whole band.
Yeah,
is like the way I look at it. But yeah, that's 100% true. Like Ableton is an instrument. Like, yeah, it's a tool, or like, yeah, that's a great way of saying it. Is like how you just said, is like tools. Like each is a tool that generates sound. This is a tool that generates sound.
So what would you say to the people that are brainwashed in high school by their band teacher, that the only way you can become a successful musician is if you learn the violin or learn the guitar or learn the piano.
Yeah.
You know, those folks that are giving some bad advice right now.
I would say my 100% honest opinion is don't listen to your band teacher. If your band teacher knew what they're doing, they would be doing it, not only
And
that.
we're not, yeah, exactly. And we're not saying that not learning, you know, those instruments
Yeah.
is, I think if you can have a combination of it all, sure, of course. There's nothing more beautiful than some organic sound. Like if you're able to play some organic sounds and put that into your production, you're on a different level now.
Mm-hmm.
You're differentiating your music than the guys that are just programming digital sounds all day long. you know?
100%.
Right.
Just keep it in perspective.
Yeah.
Of just like 100%. Like you shouldn't not learn that stuff. You totally that would be a huge leg up if you
Huge.
If you could play those organic instruments. I mean, it gives a certain feeling. Like it's really hard to program a guitar on a computer and make it sound real. You can do that with piano. You can do that with strings to some extent. But yeah, like certain instruments do just sound better live. So like that would totally be a leg up. Yeah.
For sure. 100%. 100%. Because you got. I mean, this you know, the sample game is so big, right? The sample game is so big. So many like live musicians are, you know, putting together packs and loops, or they're work for hire kind of musicians selling original sounds for other producers to include in their pack, right? So there is, you know, there's a huge market with, you know, people that can create their own music.
I feel like if you have that skill, it's much easier to monetize because the barrier to entry is so high. Most people don't want to learn an instrument. Like they want the end outcome, but they don't want to go through the difficult process of learning an instrument. So once you've done that already, like you have such an advantage. Like you can just reach out to people with legit stuff that other people just flat out can't do. And so that's a huge like leverage point, like you guys were talking about earlier. Like, so that's like, if you have that skill, you can monetize that way quicker than
for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can collaborate easier too with people. You have an easier entry point. So like I feel like a piano player or guitarist or anyone that plays any instrument can kind of provide a service and value to guys like you and collaborate with more people because they're kind of providing these like landscapes, these samples that can be incorporated into your production. And it's, you know, it's less kind of like friction, you know, it's less friction. It's like, yo, here's a pack of guitar loops for you. Take them. Collaborate with me. Work with them.
You're reaching out with value.
Yeah, reaching out with value.
100%. Like real, like something that I want that I can't do. And I can play piano, but I'm not great at guitar or anything like that, or at violin. I couldn't do any of that. But like, so yeah, if you could reach out with like something that I want and I can't do, like you're doing me a favor.
Right.
And so it's like, I'm thrilled about that. And so, and that's another thing about people reaching out is you can't reach out. People are like afraid to be like spammy if people do have those skills or whatever. You can't reach out with too much value. You can't spam someone with too much high quality stuff. It's only spam if your stuff sucks. Like, so that's another thing that I think a lot of people are worried about spamming, but it's like, if you're good, don't worry about it.
I agree 100%. If you're confident in your work and you have, you're already getting great feedback from people, people are saying that your stuff is great. You know, you got to shoot your shot. I've been shooting my shot for a long time.
Consistently.
And it's what got me here.
Every single day.
It's what got me here. It's what got me here. You know, I've been shooting, you know, closed mouth. What did they say? Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, man, you got to be the biggest believer. You got to be the biggest believer in yourself, your products, you know, what you're doing. And that's entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And
That's
even sometimes if you don't believe in it, you still have to put it out there.
Still
Like
got
if you feel you've got doubt, everyone's going to have that. Like, is this really that good? It's like, send it and find out.
Yo, and don't be shy to ask for like feedback, right? Don't be shy to let people say, don't be shy to ask people, why did they pass on your shit? Like, why did they not want to work on your sample? Let them explain why. And I think because, you know, art is such a sensitive topic, you know, producers kind of get scared to get that kind of feedback. But if maybe you know, when I was 20 years old, 18 years old, that feedback would probably crush me sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Now I've been in this for so long, I'm like hungry for feedback. Like, please tell me what I could do better. Please, please give me an understanding of, you know, your interpretation of this. Like, I need that. Like, we need that all day long. You know what I mean? In order for us to get better. Like, if you're not welcoming, you know. So yeah, I think shooting your shot, getting feedback. Did you ever get some advice or feedback from anybody like in your career that you can remember that was like a pivotal moment that was like, oh man, I really needed to hear that?
Oh yeah. the other day, I was curious why my YouTube views were kind of dipping, and they weren't doing as good as they used to. And my good friend Kavi, he does a lot of collabs on BeatStars and that kind of stuff, and he kills it. And he was just saying, like, he was saying in the most friendly way that, like, your beats don't have the same, like, soul that they did during this period when they were blowing up. And, like, he's like, I love your beats from this period. They're good. You're clearly a professional, but it's not the same as it was. Like, and it was true. I was focusing on other things. I was, like, working on the content. I was working on, like, the video production and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I wasn't putting everything into the music like I was in that period. And it's like, well, that makes sense. And then the next week I dropped like 3 beats after he had that conversation, and they're getting like 10,000 views in like a week again. And so I think it will take a minute for the algorithm to catch up on YouTube, but it's totally true. I didn't even know that I was drifting into that. So that's something that, like, I just slowly drifted into. I almost got a little comfortable. Like, numbers were there for the longest time. And then it was like, I got in a routine and into just like, okay, I make something in the day, I put it out, and next day happens. And it was just that routine. And it was like, I did kind of lose that, like, obsessiveness of going all out on every single one to make it, trying my best. I mean, you can't, like, have a 100% hit rate, but trying my best to make each one incredible and impactful and inspire a story out of someone and all that kind of stuff. So
it gets tiring. It gets tiring sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes you shift into different interests, you know, you don't put the full effort that you were doing what you made a name on, right? What you made a name on. So it's dope to have friends like Kavi to remind you, because I think everyone needs those kind of friends, and it's important. It's important especially when you're doubting yourself. But I'm curious to hear, like, how much time do you actually put into a beat? Because there's a lot of theories. You know, producers are like, oh man, I did this in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I make my beats in 10, 15 minutes. And they're like kind of proud of that, you know, and like proud of that accomplishment. For me, I mean, each their own, everyone each their own, everyone has their own way of being creative. But I've never personally seen something have like a massive, massive impact and really, really hit the market well on BeatStars, unless like there was actually like a lot of time put into it. You know, there's a lot of time put into this stuff.
I feel like I feel like those ones that pop off, like, oh, I do like 5-minute beats. It's a bit like you're playing the lottery.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't think you want to play the lottery for a career. Like, I don't. Yeah. So I think that, like, maybe one beat comes together quick, but the preparation for that, like, when I'm at my best, if I want to make sure I have a great beat that day, if I put in like 6 to 10 hours of preparation on one beat of like listening to samples, listening to inspiration, trying out new ideas, like, and trying to find the most impactful idea, my success rate is way higher. And those are going to be the ones that, like, odds are out of that, it's going to, like, if I post 7 of those in a week versus like I make a bunch of 5-minute beats and I just like schedule upload them, which I don't do, it would just, like, I don't know, you would just lose trust with your audience. The game I'm playing, that doesn't work. Yeah. Where you could just do a bunch of 5-minute beat and hopefully that one of them works out. That doesn't work for me because you're just going to lose so much trust with your audience. They're going to quit clicking. And so you're just, if you do the high quality, I mean, if you look at there's very few, I mean, there are different formulas that do work for different people. But if you look at like the people that really stick around, like a Jay-Z, a Kanye, a Drake, a J. Cole, they're not making 5-minute songs. Right. Like the stuff that has real longevity and it's going to last for a while and it's going to like impact people wasn't made in 5 minutes. And not that like you can't hit the lottery. People hit the lottery sometimes.
They do,
but
it happens. The stupid algorithm confuses it for something.
Yeah. So, but like I said earlier,
you're preaching gospel, man. You're preaching gospel. I'm so happy you're saying this because so many young people are going to be watching this, and so many young people have, you know, look up to a lot of successful people that, you know, that talk about this, you know, creativity in those and like making music in that short a time span. I think people are starting to recognize that that's not the way to go. I felt like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, you could throw on the same trap kind of programming arrangement and everyone was kind of doing the same thing, same drum, everything was the same. Yeah. Maybe just some very small changes to a beat and they were naming them a different beat. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like you said, I could pump out 20 beats a week, and because I literally can just program 10 of these beats in one session with
Yeah.
just very small, intricate changes to them and have them be its own identity. But I'm glad that we're moving away from that. And I'm noticing we are, though.
Yeah.
I'm noticing from the BeatStars perspective as well, too, from the producers on our platform. We're moving away from the microwavable shit.
Yeah.
Like, producers are really, I mean, all the music that you hear today, man, it's like, man, the production is what's carrying this shit so much.
A good example of this is Just Dan. If you check out his stuff, like he doesn't drop terribly consistent. He's consistent, but it's not like every day, every other day.
Yeah.
But every single one is like, you can tell a lot of thought went into each beat.
Yeah.
And like, and
He's one of my new faves, too.
yeah, I'm a big fan. He's dope. Yeah.
Killing it.
And then I think, and I also would say like someone might have the argument like, oh, but look at like this person. Like, yeah, those like microwavable beats that you said, they have their seasons,
They have their seasons.
but they're not
Small
gonna,
shelf life.
exactly. And so it's like, if someone can ride the wave, more power to them. But
Sure,
like,
sure.
don't bet your career on that. I feel like is
100%.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Don't play the lottery with your career. Is that what you said?
I said, you don't want to like play the lottery for a living or
Oh,
something
for
like
a
that.
living. For
Yeah.
a living. It's so true, man. Like, you have to play the odds game. You have to play the statistics game. You gotta know the game from a numbers perspective. You know, if you don't know the game from a numbers perspective, then you don't know what you're entering into. So, you're starting to like dig in, and I want to get in. I want to get into some of the the bigger artists that you work with and stuff. But I think so many people are so intrigued by you in terms of your online entrepreneurship and what you've done. The analytics part, the data part. How have you incorporated? You said now the internet's here for everyone, right? And all these platforms and BeatStars too is we're giving back data. Everyone's trying to give back data as much as we can. We want to do better at it and provide more data and analytics. We have a plan to do that. But how are you incorporating data into your everyday kind of like business?
I mean, it's a huge, like, metrics are important because they mean something. If they mean something about the humans listening to your stuff. Data is like, you can't deny it. Like, it literally just tells you the flat out truth of how people are responding to your stuff. Like, maybe someone won't comment, this is mid or whatever, but you can tell by how long they watched the video what they actually thought. So, it just like, it just tells it, you have to, the numbers on the screen are important, but you have to understand what story those numbers on the screen are telling. And so you have to know that a high watch time on your beat, it could actually mean a couple things. Like from a YouTube perspective, it could mean that people are so engaged they couldn't click out of it because that beat was so inspiring. So that's great. But then also it could lower as YouTube pushes it to a wider audience. Maybe they don't like hip hop as much or something, but more views. So like the watch time eventually like lower. So there's like a whole bunch of stuff like that. Click-through rate is like, if we're talking specifics on YouTube, is like, that's like your combination of how interesting this individual thumbnail is, but also what's your track record. And so have you been inspiring people? Like, have you hit 15 beats in a row that have made people excited and wanted to rap? And so like all those numbers, they just like, basically what I'm saying here is they just all tell a story. And I mean, in your views and stuff like that and total plays on BeatStars is going to be how, like, is your content spreading? Is it like worth spreading? It just like, it tells you so much, like how, I don't know if you're running it from a business, I don't know how you could like deny those numbers,
Right.
that they're important. Like,
How often are you reviewing this information?
way too much.
Yeah, too
way
much?
too much. I should probably check it out less, but I don't know, anytime I'm bored, like a lot of people.
Do you build some reports? Do you build KPIs for yourself? Do you kind of organize this information, put it on a dashboard, on a Google Doc that you kind of organize for yourself across all these different channels where you have,
I probably
No?
should, but it's like
Yeah.
so ingrained in my in my brain that it just, like, it's in the front of my mind. So I just know,
Got it.
like, I know the YouTube analytics. I'm always checking that out. I'm always seeing the watch time of the current beat. I'm always checking like my daily plays on BeatStars, which I need to drive those up. But
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we're going to add more more of those kind of like watch time analytics.
Ooh,
How
that'd be
how many
cool.
times people have opened up a lyric pad to your beat? You know, those kind of indicators, those kind of signs, because those are all success signals. Like
Yeah.
for
Also, what would be amazing is, I think I've texted you about this, is like to see your return on
Conversions.
promo,
yeah, conversions.
like conversions from promo.
So you'll be able
Would be
to
huge.
interest target on promote soon on promo.
Oh, so almost like how Facebook and Instagram do it.
So you'll be able to interest target, create audiences around those interests, and saved audiences as well.
To find all the soul beat people,
Yeah,
target them.
and just stop wasting money on promoting your music to people that are listening to
Like Lil
pop
Baby.
or whatever, just anything that's like not related to your genre. So this next version of promote will happen this year. We'll have more
Ooh,
kind of like targeted
that
stuff.
sounds
and
amazing.
More
I would
data.
live in that BeatStars analytics.
Can't wait.
Like-
Can't wait for you to play around with it, man. Like, so you're looking at that data, and you're kind of like,
It like steers you.
it
I
steers
feel-
you, but you can't let it fully dictate your next move, though, right?
It can't predict the future. Like
Right.
it can't tell you what you should make.
Yeah,
It tells you your past performance. I feel like it tells you what people have responded to, what you've put out. It can kind of tell you the story of like, okay, people respond to this type better, so like you have to make those conclusions. Like you have to come up with those ideas. Exactly. It can't be like 100%. You can't let it kill your creativity.
Right.
Of like, what new successful products can I try? Like, it'll tell you. Yeah. It's just feedback. It's not gonna
feedback.
tell you what type of beat you should make next. Because like maybe the idea that you make next is your best idea, but you haven't done something like it before, so you're a little nervous. So like,
Right.
I wouldn't let it completely control you. Like
good,
that.
good. I'm glad you say that, because I think that there's a lot of people that will look at that data and they'll say, okay, this is what's making me successful.
That used to be me, by the way.
Right. And I'm just going to keep making stuff like this. And you're feeding the algorithm, and you're pleasing the algorithm, or you're pleasing the, the information, the data you're receiving, and you're actually like killing your creativity.
Yeah.
You start killing your creativity sometimes, right?
Yeah. Or like you'll miss out on whatever future opportunity that you could have gone for that you decided not to, because like you were too controlled by the analytics, or too influenced by the analytics.
Can't let it make it have that much influence on your decision on what you want to create next.
Yeah.
We live in this world.
But don't deny it either.
No, of course.
So it's like that balance.
It's an element, it's a component in your research. It's a component it's just another part of your business that you're feeding information and learning from, feedback. But, we live in a world where, there's that traditional producer, that will, that's more, I guess, becoming obsolete in a sense, where they're only known for like one traditional sound, one traditional signature sound, right? And you're pleasing and cooking like it's like chefs and cooks.
Yeah.
I feel like the best producers on BeatStars are chefs and cooks. They know how to do both. They know how to kind of tap into what's relevant in today's sound and where it can go next. But then the chef element is adding those like signature pieces that give it its identity, that it's a Dilly Got It bumping beat. Like it's your piece. How do you juggle being this guy that's like cooking up music for millions of people to listen to? Because you're an entrepreneur, you got to create products that people want to listen to, that people are looking for, that are looking for you to make as well too. How do you balance like the type of music you make, right? And how do you cater? How do you like make sure you're still true to yourself from a creative standpoint, but still you're catering products to your existing audience?
That's kind of tough. I feel like that kind of comes a bit natural
Yeah.
to me, if anything does, because I feel like most things I have to work to figure out. I kind of suck at first and then eventually have to learn. But that is like, that might be like one thing that is tough to explain, where it's just like, I don't know. I just feel it. Like I couldn't make something that I don't feel. Like I couldn't force something. So it's just like, I kind of like, I just don't force it. I just kind of like make sure I authentically feel it, and just kind of, I don't know, that one's tough. And then once it has that core feeling, then I arrange it in a certain way that makes it easy to rap on. I make it a certain tempo. Like,
Got it.
so it's like I'm searching for that feeling, and like that feeling has to be authentic to me. Because like I'm not trying to be something, I'm trying to feel something, I guess.
Trying to feel something. Not trying to be something, trying to feel something.
Yeah. And so it's like I'm not forcing this idea. I do truly feel it. And so now let's take it and package it up in a commercial way. And so
you approach it from, you know, a position of uncertainty of where this thing is going to end up what it's going to end up sounding like. You don't you don't start with an already kind of a predefined vision of what the music is going to sound like.
Other than just good. Like that's the predefined vision is like, I need something good.
Love that.
It can come from anywhere. It can come about in any sort of way.
Hell yeah.
And then I'm just trying to make it. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Listen up, kids. Listen up. Because we get caught up in trying to recreate the last trend or sound exactly like this trend.
And I've done that before.
Yeah.
It doesn't go well. Like it's just like it comes out forced and weird but yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. Yo, man, like you also did some shit recently, like I don't know, a couple months ago, where you posted your like overall sales publicly on the internet, right? publicly on Twitter, right? Not many people do that, and not many people. And then it started like a snowball effect where other big top sellers were like, you know what? Fuck, Dilly put up. Dilly made $1 million. I made $1 million too, right? Like it was. You know,
close to, by the way.
Okay,
I don't want to.
You're almost there. Let's
round
it up. Let's round it up. You're at $1 million. You're at $1 million.
Okay.
With all your other side hustles, you're at $1 million.
Okay,
you're at $1 million.
That's fair.
But in terms of like, why did you wake up? Why'd you wake up that day and say, you know what? I'm just gonna like you knew you were gonna get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And you knew you were gonna get a lot of people like, how? What? DM? What? How? And then you started going into your educational stuff. But like, what prompted you to just like say, fuck it, man, I'm gonna show the world like this is for real, like I'm becoming a millionaire off this shit?
Yeah. I guess it wasn't like one day. It was like, I guess it was partly like I was noticing the beat sales were doing great and they're still great, but they weren't doing like crazy 2020 numbers like they were. So I was like, okay, I need something new. And I was like, well, what could be the next thing? I'm like, I'm really obsessed with YouTube and maybe I can just start making videos. I'm like, well, what would be a good video? I'm like, I know this video it would get attention. Like it's true. And so like, I've never been weird about that stuff. A lot of people are weird about like how much money they make and like they think it means something. I don't really like put too much value in that. So I'm perfectly cool with like, here it is. Like it's all out there. Like someone could learn from that. Like, and if I think about when I really started like committed to trying to become a producer, I was seeing like all these people like Cody, Taz Taylor, they were showing their PayPal screenshots and like how much they were making. So I was like, well, that was like super inspiring. That was like the main reason that I pursued it. I was like, oh, wow, someone actually can make a living.
Right. So great marketing too.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, for BeatStars, for like so many people.
Yeah. Because, I've sat back. I'm like, man, there's so many millionaires on this platform. I can't go out and tell people's business. You know what I mean? It's private. It's private information, right? I can't be going around telling what people are making, right? And, especially for me, man, as an entrepreneur, thank you for doing that. Thank you. Because it's not because of the financial aspect or the money aspect. I'm in the people impact business. That's always what I've always set out forth to do. And it's important. I think it's important for people to see that type of impact. It's important.
Yeah, that is
important because when I was a kid, none of this shit was feasible. None of this shit was feasible. We had to kill our dreams, man. When I was growing up, during the complete recession of the music industry, it was a graveyard. No one was making money, man. It was a complete collapse. Complete collapse of the music industry. We started BeatStars during the collapse. In 2008. Yeah. The music industry was collapsed. Half the staff of the record labels were shut down. Labels were shutting down completely.
Because of all the Napster stuff? And
it was all piracy.
Yeah.
It was all piracy, right? And so for me, when I was, aspiring artist and a creator, around the time that you were kind of diving into all this stuff, it was really hard. Like I was selling CDs on my MySpace page and out the trunk and at shows, and it was rigorous, man. It was rigorous. It was a lot of work.
I'm thankful for you that I don't have to do any of that stuff.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome. I did it for me selfishly, right? Yeah. But I knew that I knew that pushing the fucking envelope, pushing this so hard was gonna create those kind of moments. I knew it, and I knew it. I know it was gonna, it was gonna be something that not me responsible for creating. It was gonna be a community responsible that grew together. Like BeatStars is nothing without the amazing music that's on the platform. The stuff that you take off the music off BeatStars. Who gives a fuck about BeatStars, right? You guys built this thing with us, and it's so beautiful to see it reciprocated in the success to you and for the company, right? Where it's like, man, for the first time, it's like you don't see a lot of companies or platforms where it's like, thousands and thousands of people are becoming successful, but it's also contributing to the health of the business, the company, and we can continue pushing forward and continue helping the next generation of Dilly Got It Bumpin', the next guys and girls, right? It's liberating, man. It's liberating because, we've all, prior to you doing, getting into the beat game, you could only make money, from the traditional music industry, whether that's landing a massive placement and getting, publishing. And publishing's great, but at the end of the day, it's just pennies. It's just pennies compared to the business that you can build when you're an e-commerce business owner, you know. And that stuff wasn't available, man. You couldn't do it. And, so you, as an entrepreneur, as someone that builds things, it's a blessing in my life to hear people using the tools, the things that I've created to sustain and to build and to grow and to influence and put out positivity and inspiration to other people, man. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you, man.
Oh yeah, no problem. I'm glad that was the response, because I definitely didn't want to come across of like, look at how well I'm doing, but I wanted to show like, first month started at $80, like, and then this is like everyone starts at $0, $80, like. You can, and then going month by month, as I do in that video, like show the whole journey and like show the whole mindset and the whole like describe how much work I was putting in like each month and like how much you have to upload and all that kind of stuff. And and that's cool that. I
mean, there's a recipe to it, but then we haven't really got into. We're gonna get into some music after this question. We're gonna listen to some of your top 2 tracks, and we're gonna break some of that down, but. We didn't get into, like, it sounds great, right? The hard work, the passion, the artistry, the dedication sounds good. But realistically, in this world where we are, relying so heavily upon social media and media technology companies in order for our stuff to get kind of like discovered, right? And pushed. And these technology companies are changing, they change their models to fit their businesses. And the producers and the artists, like the creators on these platforms, we're a very small niche compared to the billions and billions of people that use YouTube or Instagram, or any of these platforms where we're not really a priority to them in a sense.
Don't care.
Right. They just want eyeballs and user generated content. Whatever performs better is what they want to push.
To sell ads on their platform just to generate revenue.
100%.
We're such
we're small. We're afterthought. Afterthought. And so when you have to rely, and that's why these last few years, like, it's been a really strong effort for me and the company and all the team to have a platform that's like really focused and dedicated to this community where we don't have to rely on YouTube and we don't have to rely on Instagram. We built our own place. We built our own home where business is made, where collaboration is done, where way better experience to discover music on BeatStars, right? Way better experience to playlists and things like that, right? So
as a producer, I am rooting for the BeatStars marketplace to win out as the go-to platform so hard.
It has to.
Like, it would be the best thing for a producer. So it just has to become the best thing for artists. And like, then it makes sense. Like, and I think it will be. I think we're already there.
I'll tell you why.
Really?
Yeah, I think we're already there. We hit that. I feel like last year we hit that. We overcame the YouTube thing in terms of like where referral traffic or where revenue is coming from.
Oh.
So we have the BeatStars marketplace, and then we have the Pro page, right?
Yeah.
The Pro page is kind of, I call that when I define it, that's YouTube revenue because that's producers putting their own websites on their YouTube channel, driving traffic to their YouTube channel, right? And then the marketplace is a marketplace. So all the direct traffic and organic traffic that's happening there, that's all our efforts. That's us, right?
Yeah.
The marketplace now makes up for 65% of all beat sales around the world compared to 35% on the pro page.
Yeah.
When 3 years ago, it was kind of the flip. It was the pro page that was driving all the revenue. So I think we've actually overcome in terms of being like the largest destination for where licensing is happening. So I think we've gotten there. Yeah,
that's
it's great.
amazing. I just hope that keeps going.
Yeah, we got to get better at it. We got to get better at it. We got to grow it. We got to get more savvier. We got to get better with personalization and technology.
I'd have to check out too because that'd be interesting just on the data side of I would say 9 out of 10 producers put their pro page versus like the marketplace because it doesn't make sense.
For sure. It's their brand. We don't want them putting their marketplace links. That's your guys' business, right? That's you're building your own brand. It's Dilly Got It Bumpin', right? .com. And so you want to hammer that in their consumer's head. You want to hammer that brand into your.
I need to master the BeatStars marketplace. Then,
we're gonna get it. I think right now it's not masterable actually because I think there's limitations with the advertising platform, and I think there's limitations with how you can target and reach, and there's also limitations in personalization in terms of like, how to reach those millions of people that are coming to the platform every month. So, but that's our main focus this year.
Interesting.
Main focus.
Also
payments too. Payments is a challenge.
Like what do you?
Global payments. Global
like Stripe
payments.
and PayPal don't always.
We have PayPal, right? We have PayPal, and we're only using like USD, right? We're only using one currency, USD. So you're forcing the whole world, who majority of the world, has money in their banks under their local currency, right? So they can't even like it's hard for them to make purchases using their credit cards or their debit cards. And PayPal's not available everywhere, and not everyone uses it. Not everyone uses it around the world. There's places around the world where the phone is their financial wallet. Like they use their phone to buy things. Their phone is their wallet. Their phone is their bank. Rechargeable debit cards. There's a lot of people around the world that don't have bank accounts. They're like Cash App style apps are their primary bank accounts, or refillable debit cards, which won't really work in terms of So you guys are missing out from a global perspective in terms of receiving revenue from countries that that are having trouble to pay. So that's also a big challenge that we're fixing this year too, and I can't wait to launch it. All right, so great things are happening, but we're gonna go and get into a couple tracks. We're gonna break down some of these beats, and I think it's important for people to hear these beats. Let's put our headphones on, and Dante is gonna put some of these tracks. I think it was Hard, Bad Things and Most High. Bad Things and Most High. We're gonna dive into these, man. We're gonna ask you what makes these beats successful. So all right, we'll get into it. It's one of my favorite shit. This beat just gets my ego, turns my ego up.
It's amazing.
That infectious vocal sample in the back.
Yeah, that's what makes it, is that vocal sample. Well, and a few other things.
That one too.
Yeah, that's just the main one, half-timed.
Half-timed.
Yeah, slowed down.
Main one.
Pitch down an octave and slowed down to like half speed. So it's the same as like it's the same vocal that's singing. It's the same lyrics, but the way the halftime
got it. Yeah. What did you drop here? What did you remove here?
So kick, snare, hi-hat, swapped up the snare to like this like perk, like an ambient perk, and that just like really slows down the vibe. Hi-hats come back in, clap comes back in, snare comes back in, like in between, and then hi-hats are big right here, and then the kick like on the low end just like that makes it thump, but like that keeps the tempo up. That like double without that hi-hat at that 16th note, then it just like slows down the vibe. It just like gives you a time, like a second to breathe, and then it comes back in. And then right there, you switch up the arrangement to that was about 8 bars. Depends if we're like double timed or not, but that was about 8 bars, and the audience would have got bored after that. So I had to switch up the vocal, and so the piano stayed the same, everything stayed the same. I switched up the vocal, and then we're gonna switch up again, 8 bars. That clap reverb like is a nice transition. It's like easy. It's kind of like smooth, and it kind of goes into the next section, and then yeah, there's that little like
sexy boy.
Yeah.
This is sexy. Yo, this man. You hear when you did this? Did you hear like someone like Drake all over something like this?
it was The Weeknd.
Oh, The Weeknd.
Yeah, especially this outro. This is like what's that one album that The Hills is on? Oh, Beauty Behind the Madness. Like I feel like he would slow down the whole thing like this. I think I could be wrong.
Yo,
on that
I've heard
album.
this beat on BeatStars all over the place. It's everywhere, always. Did you ever put this beat through like Beat ID to find out how many people have actually used this shit? I know there's probably thousands of people that have used this one.
Yeah, by the leases, I mean, I can just say it's probably leased yeah, over 1,000 times, because if it's like $30, it's probably made like 50, 60 grand, maybe 60 to 70, 80 grand, somewhere in there. I'll have to check, 50 to 80. I know that's a big window, but like somewhere in there.
One beat. Amazing.
I feel like that's really interesting.
Dante, can we stop real quick? Pause real quick? Man, all right, let's
I feel like that's really interesting to people for me to throw out those exact numbers, because I don't mind at all.
We have, I mean, I can't name who the producers are, but there are beats that have multiple 6 figures.
So I can ask you like
Multiple
and you
6
won't say the
figures. One beat.
Couple $100 grand.
At least multiple. There might be some that,
Let's say, has someone made?
yeah, maybe.
Can I ask you, has
2.
someone made 7 figures in a year? I don't need to know who.
7 figures in a year. I think very close. Yeah, very close. Very close.
I would love to know the strategy.
We got to invite those people. We got to bring them on the podcast.
That's nuts.
But dude, that beat. Okay, when did you make that one?
It might have been like December 2019, I think,
2019,
or December 2020. It was like the 31st of 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's been a consistent seller for you. Probably
No, it was 2019. It was 2019. I'm sure.
Consistent seller for you. Still sells probably.
For sure. It's
Still
like
sells, right?
I think it's the top 3 seller every month.
Every month.
Yeah, still.
So this is a catalog beat that just lives and lives and lives and lives. So many producers get I don't know what it is, but they get scared to like promote older beats.
Stuff.
Yeah, older beats.
They
Like
feel like they're living in the past or something, maybe.
I think a lot of producers literally have no clue sometimes in terms of what they think their next shit is always going to be like the next big shit, right?
Yeah.
But from a business perspective, you always have to have your bread and butter products that's always in front of your consumer's face, right? That brings people in and then checks out the rest of the catalog. So
100%.
do you always incorporate a strategy of making sure that your older catalog stuff that's top sellers, that you're always trying to figure out ways to kind of reintroduce them, resurface them somehow?
I guess I don't really think about it much, but I have those like pinned on my BeatStars.
The pin
So-
featured.
Just like, and when I run promo, I use those beats because think about all the new people that are coming into, new people that are becoming artists and stuff like that. They've never heard what
Never
you
heard
posted
of it.
three years ago. If it's like a timeless, relevant beat, why not? I
Yeah.
mean,
Agreed.
I just
Agreed,
like I
man.
don't.
Agreed.
I think maybe a lot of people like get in their own way for that kind of
They
stuff.
get in their own way all the time. I'm always screaming and yelling at producers for throwing away their top selling stuff and not like making sure it's
They're like,
at the top of stuff.
I think that was a good point you had there. Like, well, like my new stuff's way better, but it's like, well, did they respond as well?
Who said it was, right? No one put their money behind it yet, right?
You're more excited about it because it's recent. Like that's
Right.
just how no one. Yeah, no,
I wouldn't promote new beats. If I was a producer, if I just dropped a beat today, I wouldn't promote it.
I don't run promo.
I would wait 2 or 3 months after a beat is released to get data, analytics, information to understand, is this even worth me putting money into investing into the beat before I commit into advertising or promo or whatever it is, right? Like, producers need to think that way. Like, they have to use their investments wisely, right? They got to use their investments wisely.
I agree with that. I do that for promo when I run BeatStars promo. I do not promote any new beats.
No.
Like, it's like, what was my top seller this last month?
Let that beat earn its promo. Let it earn it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. True. That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah. Don't just, it's like, in this coddled world we live in, we just give everyone a trophy. No, don't give that beat a trophy yet. Wait, let it prove itself first, right?
Yeah.
All right, Dante, let's get into the second beat. What's the second one called again?
Most High.
Most High. All right, let's listen to this. Dante, you there? There you go. Thank you, sir. Woo! I've heard this one a lot too. This one makes me want to just drop some 16s on it too.
Is that the vibe you get? Is it like storytelling? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they got it bumping.
Ah, those drums. More vocal samples.
Yeah. It's like a choir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But even the choir has a progression to it,
Yeah.
you know?
The piano's big on this one.
Similar drums to the last one.
Same tempo. It's got a little, like this cymbal loop that you hear. It's like, wait. And it delays out, but yeah. Kind of adds some energy.
This is nasty.
It's somewhere in that 150 to 180 BPM, somewhere in that range.
I want to hear Bun B on this. Scarface.
Then we take the hi-hats out right here, and then we change out the snare for that big ambient perk. And then that changes the tempo. It just gives it room to breathe, and then it makes it more impactful when these hi-hats come back. And then
Killer Mike. Sorry, I'm just hearing all my favorite artists on this beat.
that's amazing. That's what a beat should do. And then we have the 808 here, so I even switch out the bass. So 808 right here. And then on the second half, we're gonna switch to a synth bass. And that just switches up the vibe again. It's just what can you do different to keep the listener engaged? Keep it flowing, keep ups and downs.
So open to do you master your streamable MP3s, the ones that are just streamable, not the ones for purchase. Do you master you master it, right?
Yeah. The streamable ones.
The streamable ones,
The one
yeah.
with the tag on will be mastered. Yeah,
exactly.
And so
A lot of producers don't do that.
really?
Yeah.
It makes it hit harder.
Of course, you got to.
Yeah. You want to present it like that. And then you obviously don't want to sell that because it's gonna sound weird.
No,
when it's
of course, cannot do that. But it gives people the first impression of what it could potentially sound like when it's bigger and badder, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
It gives people the vision of where it can go.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's beautiful.
A lot of it is about presentation. You could have the same idea and present it in different ways, and it's going to do better one way.
Guaranteed, if you uploaded a version of this beat without the master version, mixed version, it probably would sell maybe 1/10 of the amount, probably.
I could see that.
It's possible.
Yeah. It could make that much of a difference. But it's we just want to do everything to give it its best shot. That's all you can do.
Yeah. When did this one come out?
It was summer. I want to say summer 2020, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe 2021. No, it was summer 2020.
So is this kind of like the pocket? This is these two beats are kind of like this is Dilly. This is you.
It's funny that you say that because I would have not thought that because they're a little darker. Both these ones are darker than I would say 8 or 9 out of 10 beats I put out, but maybe that's something I should look into is
start making more dark music.
Yeah, because it's not like I do.
I guess
something I'm
I guess
learning
it's really when you think about it, it's really easy to convert a happier song to dark. It's just switching some of the emotions, some of the feeling, right? There's, but they both trigger this. They both trigger the same place. You know, like
You think so?
I think so, man. I think more people are. I mean, me personally, I gravitate towards the darker storytelling, deeper life moments I could speak about. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
No, I like that too. Because I've done a lot of like the uplifting, almost like
Yeah.
borderline
We need that.
corny happy, but
Bro, there's a lot of great corny happy songs right now. Like we were just, like shout out to Ty Verdes and
well, I don't know if I go like that far. Mine's more
No?
like Kanye influence. So
got
like,
it.
It's like would be like college dropout vibe, like those
Okay.
uplifting maybe more so
Got you.
than like
Got more
corny
uplifting.
happy.
More
Yeah.
uplifting. Got you. Cool, man. All right, we're getting towards the end here, man. This has been
Damn.
so fun, man. We're gonna do some quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna answer them as best as you can. A little segment. We haven't named it yet. I'm still waiting for Jamil to give it a name, but I might steal it from Matt Barnes. We're gonna call these quick hitters. Hitters. So Logic, FL, or Ableton?
For me, Ableton.
All right, Ableton. Cool. Collab with J. Cole or collab with Drake?
I was not a fan of the last Drake album, but before the last Drake album, Drake. Like, it's got to be Drake, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Depends what type of
Jay,
Drake we
come on,
get.
Jermaine. You don't want to get in the studio with Jermaine?
Oh, I mean, I would love to. Like,
I'm joking.
I
I'm
wouldn't be
joking.
mad about
I'm not
either.
going to put you on the spot.
no.
Would you rather have Dr. Dre's career or Kanye's career?
I told this to Jamil earlier. I want Kanye's career, not Kanye's life. Like,
So,
yeah.
career without the drama.
Yeah.
Without the drama.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather be, and maybe this is changing for you now because you're putting yourself out there more, but would you rather be the guy that's in the spotlight or behind the scenes?
Honestly, it doesn't matter. Whatever gets the job done. So, like, if I need to be in the spotlight to get a certain job done, that's what I'll do. I don't need I'm not a person that like needs the attention or anything like that. So not a big driver of mine, but if like that needs to be what's done to get the job done is what I'll do. So I go either way.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. Best producer of all time.
I was going to think about this one. It could be, it might be those two names you said earlier. It might be Kanye. It might be Dr. Dre. Shoot, that's so tough. I'm going to say, I don't know about best. That's always so hard, but I don't know. Kanye's got to be my favorite. It's got to be Kanye.
I mean, that's not, you can't. It's
and
hard.
then you got 40.
Yeah.
Noah
Okay.
40 should be. So, like,
Amazing.
those guys, it's like, there's 20 of them that I just absolutely love. But I'll
Yeah.
say Kanye.
Coin
I'll say
flip.
I
Coin
probably
flip.
listen to the most Kanye throughout my life
Cool. Yeah.
of his production and that kind
Kanye's
of
a
stuff.
production genius, man.
He's not the most technically advanced.
No, huh?
Like, not at all.
Right.
And so that's really
That's good though.
Mm-hmm.
He puts human element into it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Best beat you've ever heard.
That's so tough on the spot. I don't know. It's so hard. I'm so bad at saying the number one, but I could say, what are some of my favorites? I don't know. Like some that are going, I'm just going through like Drake ones right now. I love Sandra's Rose by Drake. That's one of my personal favorites. No Role Models. That might be,
Okay.
that could be there. I love All Falls Down by Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna throw out some great ones.
Yeah, those
just
are all
like I
great,
can't
man.
pick
All
one,
amazing.
but those are all amazing.
All right, last one. What's the craziest shit you ever seen in your DM from
Oh.
just some crazy talk or whatever?
Yeah,
That's
the funniest thing that kept happening to me on a regular basis is people kept emailing me from prison. Like they're like, as soon as I get out, I want this beat. Like hold this one for me. Like as soon as I'm out, I'm on it. So I was always curious, like, how did you find this? Like, and it happened a couple times. Like within like a month and a half, I got like 2 or 3 emails from people in prison. I was like, it's hilarious. I don't know how this is happening.
funny thing is we're actually trying to figure out ways to get beats to people in prison on the systems that they have in there.
That's
We're
amazing.
trying
I
to
feel like
get,
that'd be great. Like they'd
Yeah.
give them something to do, write songs. Like
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dilly, it's been great having you here, man. I really, really appreciate you, your insight, your openness, your transparency, and the energy that you give this community, man. We're thankful for you, man. Thank you for coming out and talking with me. And yeah, that's all I got for you, man. I want to just kind of like, also, if you have Any last things that you wanted to talk about? Any things that where people could find you, or anything interesting that you're working on that you would want people to pay attention to? This would be your moment.
Yeah, so you can find like my Type Beat channel, Dilly Got It Bumpin', but I would imagine mostly producers would listen to this. So check out my producer content. It's the channel is just named Dilly. So like just search like how to make a living selling beats, Dilly Got It Bumpin', and you'll be able to find all the content there. But go check that out. I'm trying to like add as much value as I can for producers, give as much insight as I can, and trying to level up those videos. So yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir.
This was a blast.
This is history right here, man.
Yeah.
This is history.
I could talk about this all day.
Hell yeah. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.